In the all-new regular show, The Lost Tapes, find out what happens when you pair a lazy blue jay with a reckless raccoon.
Nothing could possibly go wrong.
Dude, how did that happen? Run! Mordecai and Rigby, you're fired! I'm just glad we didn't explode.
Time for dinner, honey.
Expect the unexpected in brand new regular show, The Lost Tapes, September 19th at 9 a.m. on Cartoon Network.
If you missed Season 3 of My Adventures with Superman,
we've got you covered.
Care to catch me up on your little science project?
we're running back the entire season, but we couldn't fit it all in one night.
So we ran 5 episodes last week, and we've got the final 5 next Saturday.
Check out our My Adventures with Superman Season 3 second half marathon.
Next Saturday from midnight to 2:30 a.m.
Only Toonami on Adult Swim.
Greetings, listeners. Welcome to our new episode of our podcast, Toonami Therapy. We're recording August 19th of 2026. I am Michael.
Yeah, hello. I'm Tommy.
And it's
Did it
on
work
this
that
podcast.
time?
Yes, that worked fine. So in case anyone's wondering, there was a technical issue when we started before, so that's what we're referring to. Okay, so we on this podcast we talk about anime and Toonami sometimes. So well, actually we probably won't be talking about Toonami much for the next few weeks, which is the first thing to talk about. So yeah, we already knew this, but we're not going to have any new stuff, I don't think, for the next 2 weeks because they're just showing marathons of My Adventure with Superman. And then after that, they are going to come back, and we already knew they were going to have Scavenger's Reign, but they had mentioned that this is going to be a month-long event. Now, there's 12 episodes of that show, and there's 3 slots that are now open with Fooly Cooley Alternative and My Adventure with Superman being done. So I guess they're going to be airing 3 episodes of that for 4 weeks.
Yeah, I guess. Not happy about that, but yeah.
Yeah. I just want to know. I'm wondering, like, are they like just kind of giving up at the block at this point? Because I mean, there's been previous times I thought that, and then they came back and they had a bunch of stuff. And like, oh, okay, it was just some temporary thing. But with like, 2 weeks of nothing, and then 4 weeks of just, well, we're going to have this show that was on Netflix, which, to be fair, the short that the series was based on was something that aired on Adult Swim. So, it's still kind of in brand for Cartoon Network / Toonami. But yeah, I don't know where I was. So I guess we'll just see what happens.
Yeah, so first you have Fooly Cooley Alternative returning for no apparent reason for 3 weeks. Then you have 2 weeks of marathons. And then you have possibly 4 weeks of some other non-anime thing. It really feels like they're phasing out the anime portion of Toonami and just leaving us with One Piece as our flagship show. Soon that'll be the only thing that'll be worth watching is One Piece.
If they're going to be like, if they need to fill up with some stuff, well, first I wouldn't mind if they just shifted things forward a little so I, could get to bed in half an hour earlier. If we had like 2 shows and then One Piece and then IGPX, that would be an okay schedule. So I wouldn't mind that. Of course, they could always just fill things up with 2 episodes of One Piece. That way we'd get maybe an episode of content, an episode's worth of content. Yeah. All right. So I guess we'll just move on. We can start talking about this stuff. So we've got the season finale, maybe series finale. I don't think they've announced another season yet, but they probably will. I think it's at least popular enough that they're, getting a spin-off series at some point. So they'll probably have another season. But anyway, at the end of this season, yes, there's a big fight. Everyone tries to fight the bad guy, and then
I don't think you said the name of the show.
didn't I say My Adventures with Superman?
Oh, I don't remember.
Okay. Well, if I didn't, it's that show, episode 30.
Sorry.
Okay. Well, I was talking about My Adventures with Superman, and then I guess I just moved into it and thought that that's what people would realize that. Anyway, so that's it. They fight the bad guy, and then people are fighting him, but then they're having trouble. But then Clark shows up, and he's like, "Yeah, I got all my powers back now." And which we didn't really actually see that much of, but we got him. And then they're able to beat the bad guy, and everything is all good and stuff, I guess. And I guess Lois and Clark are engaged now. That's basically what we end on.
Yeah. I apologize for interrupting you there. Yeah, this episode was pretty good, I thought. I missed a little bit of the end there, though. I stepped out of the room for a minute. So apparently they got engaged.
Yeah. Lois proposes to Clark, so yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Actually, did he say yes? I can't remember if she asked him and then I think he said yes. I don't think it just ended on the proposal. But it ended with her like saying that and him just going, huh? I think he said yes, but I'm not. I'd have to double check. I'd have to watch to be absolutely sure. So yeah, I guess she got over the anxiety about the future and stuff. I don't know. I guess when you meet your future kids, maybe that like it makes you get over this sort of stuff. The worries that she was so worried about that she burst into song out of nowhere in a previous episode, and it was never explained how that worked. So yeah, it was decent. I kind of still had some problems. Like the final bad guy they fight, I just didn't really find him that interesting. He hasn't really gotten that much development. He's just like there to be a bad guy and an obstacle, really. That's kind of I wish it had been someone we had gotten more investment in. I mean, I had my problems with Brainiac from last season, but he had gotten a lot of attention and stuff before, and then they fight him, so we had some sort of investment in it rather than just, well, it's a bad guy and we got to fight him.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't have much more to say about it. I thought it was a pretty good episode for the show. I mean, I don't really enjoy it all that much, but it wasn't bad. So
yeah, I am curious. I mean, I assume based on this, they'll probably, if the block is still around, we'll see My Adventures with Green Lantern. So we'll see how that goes, I guess. But yeah, I am curious whether we'll see more, because they had like some stuff that seemed like it was sort of setting up potentially new stuff, but that might have been just well, we want the ending, we want to end on a nice resolution, but so if we don't get more, but maybe tease a few things to go to the future, like if we get another. So I guess we'll find out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and I think, don't have too much else to say about that. So move on to the episodes 5 and 6, the final ones of Fooly Cooley Alternative. All right, so basically it looks like bad stuff might happen to Earth that might kind of destroy it. So a bunch of people, like government people, are like, well, might as well just evacuate to Mars. So because they had set up stuff there, that includes one of the girls, the main character's pets, who then the main character. Well, this is like the weirdest thing. So Pets has been like captured by like this alien thing, and Kana's trying to rescue her, and then Pets is like, I think now is the right time to tell you how much I actually dislike you and how I think you're selfish. I'm like, could you wait until you're out of this life or death situation to have this talk? Because like Kana's like trying to do the heart to heart, and then Pets says that she's like, gives her like that spiel, and I'm like, guys, you're in a literal life and death situation. Get out of it and then have this.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, the basic the getting to the final thing, what we find out is that big thing, the things that they're like called the what are they, like the medical mechanica, the things that are like look like giant like the things you use for ironing, and for some reason
Yeah.
are they just
Iron.
called iron? Are they just called
Yeah.
irons?
Yeah.
Okay, because I thought like there's more to it than that, isn't there? Than just calling it an iron. Yeah, I gotta look at. There has to be a lengthier thing to prevent you from getting it mixed up with regular iron. Let's see. Maybe it's just ironing machine. That's probably, they look like ironing machines. There, that's perfect. So which is like gonna go around and basically, flatten everything on Earth eventually. I mean, it seems like it's going kind of slow. I kind of feel like you might be able to just avoid it by moving around. But anyway, what's his name? I can't remember his name, but that older guy who's been around, he and Haruko are able to awaken some of the extra power in Kana, and she does that, and that managed to beat the thing and I guess save the world, and everything's good. Haruko gets warped somewhere, and which I think is only properly explained in Fooly Cooly Shoegaze, and that at least I think I have. Look, I'm just going by what I've seen people write about it. That series I can barely remember anything from. Anyway, so the world is saved, and I guess that's it.
Yeah. I think I like this a lot more the second time around, and I don't know why that is, but I seem to enjoy watching it this time, and I think I like the slice of life stuff, and then they have this Haruko stuff. I'm like, okay, we have to have that just because it's Fooly Cooly in name, so we have to have some Haruko just to make it, and then they have that whole big thing and it gets resolved. But as you said, shoegaze kind of makes things interesting. So yeah, not too bad, I think.
Yeah, as I understand what happens at the end here, and I'm not sure if we're supposed to figure it out based on this or if it's only explained in Shoegaze, but there's like some sort of universe or timeline split at this point, and Haruko ends up in the other universe. That's why she's not in Shoegaze, which is the other one that takes place in this universe. All the other series take place in that other universe, the one Haruko got warped into at the end. So like the original, grunge, original, and progressive take place in that alternate one, or at least that's what what seems to be agreed upon as the interpretation online. So yeah, that's how I think it's supposed to all fit together. Yeah,
Okay.
I the first time, my opinion, the first time I saw it, from what I remember, is that I thought, at least I was mostly comparing it to progressive. I thought most of this was better than Progressive, but I thought Progressive had the better ending. I think I understood the ending a little better this time around, but I still think it did kind of, I don't know, the ending just kind of felt like it felt like it. I wanted to say it felt like it ended, but that just sounds weird to say. Okay, so yeah, but it is weird the way it's like slice of life, and then we just got all this Haruko stuff that seems kind of forced in until like towards the end where it manages to do it better. Honestly, it's been making me wonder if I should check out what's it called, Dead Demons DDDD Destruction, which was this anime that it's about like the setting is that there's this alien spaceship that appears and it hasn't like attacked or anything, but people are feeling all this dread and there's all this like effects and stuff its presence is having. And then the series with that like sort of fantastical backdrop is mostly just about these high school girls growing up, is how I've heard it explained, at least, which sounds possibly like this, except maybe done a little better. It at least got better reviews. So I don't know. Maybe we'll want to check it out sometime, or maybe I'll check it out on my own. We'll see. The one thing I will say, I do want to mention this because I've heard, I can't say if this is the case because I haven't seen it. One thing I've heard repeatedly from people is don't watch episode 0 at the start. There's one called episode 0, and people say like don't watch it. It will not make sense, and it requires like knowledge of later stuff. So best case scenario, it won't make sense. Worst case scenario, it'll end up spoiling later things for you. That's what I've heard over and over. So I figure I might as well pass that along.
What's this called again?
Dead Demons DDDD Destruction.
Okay.
Yes, it's a very Japanese title. Okay. So there's that. All right, moving on. We've got One Piece episode 789. So Big Mom continues on this rampage because she's hungry, apparently kills one of her sons in the process, although I think we should see him later, so I guess he got better or something. Then I think she just like must have it mentions she can absorb life force from other people, so maybe she just gave it back later on. Anyway, but Jinbei shows up and wants to, and appeases her by basically feeding her a bunch of apparently sentient food. That felt very dark, even if the food just would go, as long as we're delicious, we don't mind being eaten. It says, they say something like that when she's like eating it. Then so that calms down Big Mom. Jinbei says, I have to talk to you about something. And that's the first half of the episode, and you can just skip the second half because it's complete filler. I was like looking at the manga. I'm checking the One Piece wiki to see what it adapts. I've got the manga pulled up and we're halfway through and like, wait, aren't we basically at the end of what it adapts? And then I realized, oh, everything else that happens, total filler. And it's actually funny, even in that filler, this is the craziest thing, because I just need to differentiate filler and padding. Filler is just they added stuff. Padding is like, more they stretch stuff out. So there's a bunch of, it's basically just kind of showing, I guess, some stuff that happened between the actual important stuff. And even within that, there's this crazy padding thing where Big Mom and Jinbei are just walking very slowly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's basically One Piece.
Yeah, it really felt like we got about a half a chapter,
We
How
did.
much did we get?
We got about half a chapter.
Okay. It felt like that, yeah. Now, is it too much of a spoiler for me to say what I think happens with Jinbei? Or I just heard that he joined the Straw Hats.
You want me to answer that, or?
Yeah.
Yes, he does. He does.
Okay.
I think I told you that before, actually.
Yeah. That's who I heard it from, was you.
Oh, okay. I can't remember exactly when he does, but I know he does.
Oh, so that's like a ways off now.
I think
Okay.
it's I'm not going. I think I know around when he does, but I'm not 100% sure. So I'll leave that.
Okay.
I'll just leave that in case anyone doesn't want to be further spoiled on that.
Okay.
All right. So after One Piece, we've got IGPX episode 8.
Okay, so we've got this bizarre romance storyline between the one girl and Takashi, and basically she tells him not to hold back against her. So he fights against her and they have a big battle. And then we have the finish line where Takashi's team, one of them finishes first, but we were begged to ask the question, how many of them need to finish in order for you to win the race? Because they didn't make it very clear whether you just needed one person to finish or you needed all three to finish. So I'm still in the dark over that. I don't know whether you need your whole team across the line first. And if you don't, then it seems kind of pointless to be battling physically with your opponents, because all you should do is just get past them and you'll win. So we're still a little confused on that end, but Takashi's team wins, Team Satomi wins and advances on.
Yeah, I thought this episode was honestly more interesting than most of the previous ones, because I'm like, okay, it's about these characters. There's like plot important stuff that's going into the actual race of the two kind of being in a relationship but going against each other. And I was like thinking, oh, okay, is at the end, are they just going to, finish this and it's just, yeah, well, this isn't working out, I guess we should put this on pause. But no, apparently they're still together, which is what the next episode preview makes it look like. So I'm, oh, okay, maybe this will be a continuing plot rather than just a brief thing, which seems potentially interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately, I got spoiled on like the whole series because I went to look up people's names, and I guess the Wikipedia page decides right at top to list the entire results of every single race. So I was like, oh, okay. Now I know every single race result for the rest of the series just because I tried to look up someone's name. So, yeah, that was unfortunate, but oh well.
Oh wow, yeah, you're right. So I was looking at the IGPX article and I was like, I don't see anything that spoiled. And then I click, list of IGPX characters. I'm like, oh wow, it's literally listed Team Satomi record right there at the start.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm trying to avoid seeing. I'm doing that thing where you can like see it in general, but I make sure not to look at the specific, so I can see. Okay, there's a grid, but I'm not going to like read what's in it. So yeah, that'll be okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll avoid looking much more in these things, but
Yeah. Yeah, I was just trying to look up characters' names and boom.
I was more surprised to look in just based on what I'm saying. Oh, that's not that many matches. Maybe they get more rare as the series goes on, or I wonder if maybe that was just for the first season. I guess we'll see. Okay. So that was IGPX. Yep. And that's it for the Toonami series. We'll move on to the series we've been checking out that are not on Toonami. We start out Classroom of the Elite, episode 11.
Okay, so we find out that even more bad things are happening, like things catching on fire and the key card getting stolen and someone going up to Suzune and just randomly attacking her, which causes her to flip him over. And eventually we figure out that it's that one girl who was part of Class C. She came over and tried to sabotage Class D. And Suzune takes her on, and we actually have action oriented scene where we're not just dealing with trying to outsmart each other. They're actually physically going at it. So that was interesting. And she gets away, she beats Suzune, and that's about where the episode ends. I thought that at first I thought, okay, this is getting annoying. And then once I realized that it was someone who was sabotaging them, it actually made it make more sense to me. And I was like, okay, this does make sense, because I was just like, why is all this bad stuff happening? And it didn't make any sense. But once you get that, then it's like it all clicked, you know?
Well, I in regards to it being, oh wow, the person sabotaging them was the person from the other class who was with them. And I'm thinking, why didn't more people suspect her? Like there's when someone's underwear gets stolen, someone does bring her up, but the other person's like, nah, a girl wouldn't do that. And then that's all there's there. I'm just confused. There isn't more suspicion, at least for the other stuff that happened. So I don't know. That just felt a little like weird. I think I don't know. I was just kind of expecting from this arc a bit more like about the game, the thing itself they're going through. Like they spent this time, saying, okay, you get these points and you do this stuff and you can use your points on this thing. And it seemed like, this was like going to be some sort of like strategy thing where they'd have to like, figure out the best usage of it and all these other things, except it really didn't seem like we've done that much of that sort of thing. So
Mhm.
I guess we've got one more episode, so maybe it could get in there also. There might be a little more there, but yeah, I just thought it was, I don't know. It just kind of, I'm just kind of a little confused what it was going for in this arc. I'm also, we got wow, that was like
Yeah.
such a forced fan service bit
Yeah.
in this episode. It's just like, okay, well, they're in their underwear, just taking a shower for some reason. Why was that there? Again, I know why it was there, but why was it there besides that? Yeah. So I don't actually, here's one other there's one thing I'm confused about. So it's really important they keep their card. So that girl who stole it, she still got it on her. Why did she do that? Why didn't she just like throw it someplace or just bury it someplace where it couldn't be found? I guess she gives it to someone at the end, so maybe we'll get an explanation. But that's the thing I just was kept thinking. There's no reason to have to keep it on you. Just like bury it someplace. People, it would take someone forever to find it. All right. Okay. Anything else to say about it?
No, not really.
All right. So we move on. An observation log of my fiancée who calls herself a villainess, episode 11. Okay, so Cecil calls Heronia and basically tells her, like, just tells her the whole thing. Yeah, you're not, and basically says I'm trying to think of the right way to describe all that. Yeah, she like pulls off the whole, yeah, but you're supposed to be with me, and he's like, no, that's not how this goes, and does mention that he did see all that alternate world thing, and mentions that that little light spirit of hers died, which she's depressed about, and he says, well, I'm gonna have to send you to a convent, but you can go to this really harsh one if you want, but you might get your little light spirit back if you do. So she does that, and that's it for her, I guess. And then we get a bunch of stuff about how Cecil's bloodline sometimes makes people who are like really detached from like society in the world, but when that happens, they just need to find the right girl, and that fixes them, I guess. Yeah, then I guess he and Bertie are going to get married after a time skip, and that's our episode.
Yeah, I just realized how much I hate Cecil. Like, I just root against him at everything he does. So, this episode was rather aggravating because of his arrogance and the fact that he gets whatever he wants. And, yeah, I think that's probably been my biggest problem with this show is him. If he wasn't so arrogant and pompous and stuck up and always getting everything he wants, maybe I would have enjoyed this show. But yeah, this episode was particularly aggravating. So yeah, last episode was a lot better, but not this one.
I don't mind Cecil really, but I will say I didn't particularly care for this episode because I'm thinking, okay, so she has to be like banished or punished for crimes. I'm thinking, wait, what crimes did she actually commit? Like, she was a jerk to people, definitely, but what did she like actually do that was a crime? Did I miss something? I don't feel like she did anything actually illegal. Maybe you could like say that the light spirit attacking Cecil was that, but she didn't tell it to do that. It just did that on its own. So I'm just confused as to what she was being punished for exactly. So that was that. But that was okay. That was at least a resolution of things. What really confused me is why do we spend like half of the episode on all this backstory stuff about Cecil's ancestry? Like, why? What was the point of that? Did we need that? It felt very unimportant in the grand scheme of things, and I spent a bunch of time explaining it.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. So I don't know. I didn't dislike Cecil, but I wasn't very satisfied with this episode either.
Mm-hmm.
I just keep coming back to being confused about what they were actually punishing Onia for when, like I said, she's been a jerk and stuff, but that's kind of it. She wasn't like that other girl who actually like that shoved Bertia down the stairs. Like that's like an actual crime.
Yeah.
I get that. I don't know. I kind of feel on the whole, the series kind of is a little weirdly mean to Ronia. There's definitely an element of like egotism to what she does, but I mean, from her perspective, she did play the game, and her assumption that she had to get with Cecil in order to get the happy ending for everyone was exactly what Bertia's motivation was anyway. So
Yeah.
it like I said, she definitely should have realized, oh, things are very different than they were in the game. I should adapt accordingly, and not been quite as self-interested in it. But I kind of just feel like the series is trying to make her out to be worse than she actually was.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't feel like she did anything wrong. That's why it really aggravated me that she was getting punished for just living, So,
I mean, like, she was like being a jerk to people. I'm not denying that. I'm just saying she at least had some kind of reasons for it, and her issue was more not working out that this wasn't the right thing in this continuity anymore. I feel so. Like I said, I don't ever mind if like she gets like sort of if some stuff happens to her as comeuppance. I was just it just felt like it was being a little overly harsh on that point, unless I'm like just forgetting some big things she did. But I don't think, but I just feel like her biggest crime was just being a jerk unnecessarily. And that was kind of it. So I don't know. Like, even of all the stuff she did, the biggest thing was when she tried to accuse Bertia at like the graduation thing, but that was still, a lot of it was stuff that she at least thought that she was right about. So I don't know, just seems a little weird the way she was handled. So not that great of an episode, I don't think, but it can redeem itself in its last one, I suppose. I am going to wonder, are they ever going to explain, I'm not expecting it because these kind of series never seem to explain it, but why this world is just like that of the game? Maybe we will. We'll find out. But that has been something that's annoyed about these isekai series that are just like some game or book or whatever. They never seem to explain why that's the case. So we'll move on. We've got the Klutzy class monitor and the girl with the short skirt, episode 11.
Okay, so we get more of the festival, and yeah, just pretty much the festival, and then we get the return of that president's alter ego, which I found out her name is Yamato Nadeshiko, which is like an archetype of something of like the perfect Japanese woman, I guess. And I guess that's they just took that name and gave it to her as her name. So yeah, so she shows up and tries to influence the vice president guy, and we don't really see Sakura Daimon for like the whole episode, I don't think, which is like pretty weird. But yeah, I don't remember him showing up once.
Yeah, I wasn't that huge on this episode. I'm kind of, my opinion of the class president character is sort of weird. It's not that I dislike her as a character. It's just I've noticed that pretty much every plot that directly involves her is usually not very interesting to me. Like, we're continuing with all this, oh, the vice president guy doesn't recognize her in this alter ego thing. And I'm like, yeah, I just don't think the joke is that. It was maybe funny at first, but now it's just like, returning to the same well with diminishing returns, which incidentally is what is the same thing I had a feeling I had about the rap battle. That was funny the first time they did it several episodes ago, but here it just felt like it was just retreading, and it was not as interesting to me.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, this wasn't the best episode. The show had been on a hot streak for a while, but cooled off with this school festival.
Okay. So we'll move on to Liar Game episode 11. So they all go on to the next round, and this one is going to be in teams. And because I like the guy who explains this stuff to them, Leonira, I think, was that it? Leonira. I just like how theatrical he is. He just waits until the last moment to tell them, "Oh, you're all on the same team. The other team is these other guys you've never met before." Because anyway, they explain the rules of the game, which is this time you're basically trying to get money past the other team, and most of the episode is spent explaining the rules. But I think they did so at least in a reasonably interesting way. And yes, that is essentially the episode. I know it probably didn't. I don't know about you, but while I probably kind of skipped over it fast, I did end up enjoying the episode.
Yeah, I was really confused by the rules of this whole thing. It really it had my head spinning. I'm like, okay, this is a lot of stuff to take in, and then they do the sampling of it, and it's like, okay, so Akiyama figured it out. It's like, well, that's not a surprise, but yeah, I just think it's too complicated, and I mean, I guess seeing it in the manga that you showed me,
Yeah.
like that makes sense, but that's because I can see it on a piece of paper
Yeah. It does.
and read the whole thing.
Yeah, it doesn't help that a bunch of the stuff when they're explaining it, they also put it up on text, which is harder to like well, if you don't know Japanese, you can't read. Do you want me to like try to explain it? See if that makes more
Yeah,
sense.
go ahead. Yeah,
Okay.
go ahead.
So here's the basic rules of how it is. But each of the teams are trying to, they've got money and they need to, in this sort of smuggling game or contraband, as I think they call it, get it past the other team. So what happens is one person from each team goes into like this room. One of them is the smuggler and the other is the inspector. The smuggler has a briefcase and they can put as much money as they want into it, up to, I think this suitcase can only have 50 million yen in it, something like that. So you put whatever amount of money you want in there, even zero, and then you take it to the room. And the inspector, the person from the other team, the inspector, then chooses one of two things. They can say pass, or they can say doubt, and then give a number. If they say pass, whatever money is in the suitcase goes to the smuggler person. Like if they put in a bunch of money, they get to keep all of that. If it's empty, they don't get anything. That's the simple one. If they say pass, you just get whatever is in there. They can then say doubt, and then they say how much money they think is in it. This is unfortunately where things start to get a little more complicated. Here's basically how it goes. If they say doubt and there's no money in the briefcase, then the number they give them, let's say like 50 million, they then have to give the smuggler half of that amount. If they say doubt and the amount they guess is more than the amount that's in the suitcase, then the inspector gets to keep all that money. If they say doubt and the amount they guess is less than the amount, and the amount that is in the suitcase is less than the amount that they guessed, then the smuggler gets to keep all that, and they get half of the inspector has to pay them half of the guessed amount to them. So basically, it's trying to figure out what's in the briefcase, because if your opponent has nothing in them, then by all means say pass. But if you say, but if they've got money in it and you say pass, then they get all the money. So you would want to doubt there. But if you just say, doubt 50 million and there's nothing, then you have to give them your money instead. But you don't want to go too low, because then if you undershoot it, then you're in more trouble. So it's basically a convoluted thing of trying to figure out what is in there and making your guess. Does that help explain things a little more?
It does help, but I still don't understand it. So.
Okay, it is one of those things that I think you grasp a lot easier when you see it more in action.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's very complicated, and
It doesn't help, unfortunately, that they I went through those. There's also parts where they spend some time explaining things that are not. Some of the stuff they explain outside of that base stuff I said is in the category where it actually, from what I remember, it ends up being important, but it doesn't end up being important until later. So now you're just hearing all this stuff about, oh, well, you take it from this place and you go down the hall and you put it in this other place, and you might think, why are they spending all this time on this? It ends up mattering, but by the time it matters, they remind you of it anyway. So.
Mhm.
But anyway, I at least thought it was enjoyable. I thought they explained it in what I thought was an entertaining way. I especially like the little bits where, like, when it's showing that you see the little pawns talking, they just have this really goofy voice, like when it goes like, doubt 50 million. I can't do it right, but it was funny. So I ended up mostly liking it. You said you got confused, but what did you like? Did you still enjoy it, or not?
I mean, I thought it was a interesting idea, but it's going to have to wait until we actually see the game in action to see if it's good or not.
Okay. So then that's Liar Game. We move on to Akane-Banashi episode 11. So Akane, now that she's got the interview, asks Isho, well, why did you expel those guys? And Isho tells, well, okay, all you guys from the press, just leave. And they leave. And then he basically tells her, well, more or less, he's a gatekeeper. But more specifically, he just talks about how Rakugo isn't as popular as it used to be. And so it's really important that you can't just promote someone to a Shinuichi unless they're really, really good. And Akane still ultimately kind of disagrees with his decision to father, but at least acknowledges, well, it wasn't just done for the sake of it. So we get that, and like she says, I'm going to prove to you my father's Rakugo was good. And yeah, so we finally get our answer to all of that stuff. And then basically, now that Akane's managed to win that thing, most of the rest of the episode, if I remember correctly, is basically just her and the other apprentices just having a celebration about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I was disappointed by this whole confrontation. I was expecting something a lot more, but I guess he just didn't. He's like, he cares about the art of Rakugo and all that, but he never really makes it clear. He just kind of talks about it. He doesn't say, "Look, I expelled your father because he didn't measure up to my standards of art." He kind of goes about it in a weird way. So you don't really get the big clash between the two of them that I was hoping for, where you would get, some really angry reaction from Akane. So yeah, it wasn't as good as I'd hope. I didn't understand the second half of the episode. I don't know what that was about, but yeah. So overall, wasn't bad, but it wasn't as good as I was hoping it would be.
The one I liked it. The one issue though I have is the fact, okay, Isho gives a very reasonable explanation, at least from his perspective, why he didn't pass her father, despite the fact the audience really liked the performance. He doesn't really explain why that was worth outright expelling him, though. That's and the others. That's the thing that he just never really quite explained. And weirdly, I think Shiguma, Akane's master, like basically says, yeah, that didn't really explain that, if I remember correctly. Says something like that. So that it didn't really feel like that part was really completely answered. But other than that, I thought it was decent. So yeah, we've gotten that. Oh, just update. Last week I was mentioning how because Akane was asking her mother where her name came from, and I said, well, I tried to ask my father, but he couldn't remember, and I wasn't able to talk to my mother. I asked my mother. Turns out the reason I got the name Michael, my grandmother really liked the name. And that's mostly it. I wonder. It's funny because my grandmother, on my mother's side, she didn't have any like sons, just several daughters. So I wonder if did she like want to name a son Michael but never got the opportunity? So I was basically that. Well, mystery solved, and now it has been forever immortalized on the internet, or at least it will be when this gets put up. All right. So that is Akane-Banashi. Anything else to say about any of these series before we move on?
No, not really. No.
Okay. So I guess we give our picks for the best of the week.
Yeah, this one's a little different for me. Well, it's not different on Toonami's side because For the third straight week, I'm picking alternative. So obviously, Fully Coolly Alternative wasn't as bad as I thought it was, because I enjoyed it a lot more. Maybe it was because there was 2 episodes per night. Maybe it felt like more happened, and maybe that's what happened. I guess I think I was enjoying One Piece more whenever it was going 2 episodes a night, because it would feel like a whole episode. So yeah, alternative wins that, and then the surprise pick of the week, I'm going with Classroom of the Elite. I thought it was a pretty good twist that spiced things up a little bit. Plus, it's been a very long time since I really liked an episode from this series, so it's good to see it back. But yeah, and my best girl of the week is Nadeshiko from Clutch and Skirt.
All right. So for let's see. For me, it would be about right, Toonami. I think I'm actually going to choose IGPX for this week. I'm sure hoping Scavenger's Reign is. Oh man, I'm just realizing. Are we just going to have that IGPX in One Piece? If that show is like decent, it might like just take it each week. But yeah, I will actually give it to IGPX for this week. For the non-Toonami series, this one's a tricky one. I think I'm gonna give it to Liar Game. Maybe it worked better for me because I had already read the manga, so I vaguely kind of remembered the rules, so it's just refreshing things for me. But I just thought it did it in an entertaining way.
Okay.
All right. Anything else to talk about?
Well, I watched some more of Tokyo Revengers, and it gets worse.
Worse
Now,
or better?
well, so Takemichi doesn't get beaten up anymore, but he's so beaten up already that you see his beaten up face all the time. So it's kind of like, yeah, we can't do anything more to him. So we're just going to leave him the way he is. And so basically, it's one of the biggest, and I know I'm going to say this wrong, so you can correct me, but it's one of the biggest Deus Ex, I can't say it.
Deus Ex Machina.
Deus Ex Machina. Okay, that's what I wanted to say. It's one of the biggest ones I've ever seen. I mean, it is ridiculous, and that's how the big conflict is resolved. Also, with one person taking out 100 other people, which stretches the amounts of believability for one person to take out 100 people who are all supposedly really skilled. Yeah. So basically, Tokyo Revengers is not good, but I'm still watching because I can't look away. It's just, it's just, it, I mean, I like the original concept of it. It was a good concept. It was like, okay, he's gonna go back in time and fix things so these bad things don't happen. But now it's just become all this gang stuff, and the gang stuff really doesn't interest me. So and plus I have a hard time believing that these gang people are actually good people when all they do is go around and beat each other up. and it's kind of difficult for me to feel like, okay, I need to be rooting for this person. It's like, well, I'm not rooting for them because they're kind of a jerk. So, yeah. So basically, it has not been good, but I have gone through 9 or 10 episodes. I think 10. So, yeah. So because I'm watching it now, we know that Toonami will probably put it back on, just because I jumped ahead to watch it, and now I'll end up having to watch it a second time.
How far are you? Are you like past the second season or
10 episodes into the second season.
okay? All right. Let's see. So next week, I guess we won't have any Toonami to talk about. We'll just have our other shows where we'll be getting the ending of like several of them. So we'll have to be replacing them, but we'll work on that then. Anything else to say?
No, that's about it. You'll just have to help me figure out what we're gonna watch next once these things end.
Yeah, we'll figure it. We'll have that ready by next week. For now, no need to, because we're just going to be finishing everything anyway. So, without further ado, we'll see you next week.
Bye.
You may know their names, but you've never seen them like this. Johnny Storm, the Human Torch. Ben Grimm, the Thing. It's clobbering time! Susan Storm, the Invisible Woman. Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic. Mutated from their human forms, they now battle the forces of evil as the Fantastic Four, starting Saturday at 8. It's 4-part harmony. Only Toonami on Cartoon Network.